These men who are your friends, they're also bears. Okay? Or little pigs. Cochon. Because let me tell you something. I do have some male friends, but they are few and far between. Because what I've had happen more than not is these men will ruin a friendship like that, right? For anyone new here, I wrote this article exactly 5 years ago, like to the day, I think. And I did a deep dive, reported story on how much men suck at friendships with other men, but just friendships in general. But you know what I left out is how they suck at friendships with women. Not all men, obviously, or I wouldn't have any male friends. But I just we're gonna go over another column in what the hell, Mel, or whatever we're calling my column response to columns, because I don't have one of my own yet, that this is mine, okay? What the hell, Mel? Hey! I just taught myself. Now, this is not the only article I've written about how much men suck at friendship. I wrote this one for the Huffington Post a while back about how men ruined their friendships with me in a day. In a day! I mean, this is about traveling alone as a woman, but some of these men that I visited, anyway, that's a whole nother video. That's my own personal story, which I will probably go into more one day. Because there's more to the story that's even in that article. It's just a roundup, okay? That's for the Huffington Post if I didn't say that. But let's give an example of how even in your worst moment, these men that you thought were your friends, they ain't your friends. They're the bear. They're this. They're this. Podcast bro puppet. Just get into it. Let's get into it. Before we do, I have been told I need to say this a lot, although it makes me very uncomfortable. But please comment and tell me your stories, or ask questions, or share, or like, or anything to help me get this out to my followers. And join my Patreon. Link is in the description. You get even more stuff over there that is not just about like decentering men and dating and whatever I do here. Check out the Patreon. Okay. Anyway, this is from Dear Carolyn in the Washington Post. I love reading her stuff, and her responses are usually pretty spot on. So, Dear Carolyn, I lost my wife last year to breast cancer, and it was the most devastating thing I've ever experienced. I can't imagine ever wanting a romantic relationship with another woman. Okay. Sounds good so far. I have been missing the physical side. Here we go. I skim over these really quick to be like, what is this about? But I don't read details, or because I want to discover it with you. And this, widow man, because right now what you're saying is that you need schmegs. I'm already assuming that you do not have emotional intelligence and don't really have a lot of going on in your inner world that you're actually cultivating and working on, because you know what? You probably killed your wife. Every time a woman dies and the man is left standing, I assume that he stressed her out so much he made her sick. Y'all know, those of you who have been here for a while know. These men will unalive us slowly through our nervous system, our like from being like exhaustion, being in their bad moods all the time, exploiting our labor. Okay, I think you're a murderer too. Like, not really, but kinda. The fact that you're so devastated, but you're also like, but you're still thinking of schmegs. You're so devastated. And you said last year, but I'm wondering, like, it hasn't necessarily been a year. Last year could be December 2023. My guess is if you had the opportunity, you would have actually brought a girlfriend to her funeral. Like so many of these men, because we're just replaceable. And he's already like, I want to replace the body. That's what my wife did for me. She was a body. So I approached a friend, Margot, about a friends with benefit situation. Dude, just hire somebody. Hire somebody. They will get paid. But what? Why? Leave Margot alone. Yet Margot's not your friend. Why are you doing this tomorrow? Okay. Margot's been friends with me and my wife for almost 20 years. Do you see what I mean? In that article that I referenced in the beginning, I lost a friendship of like 10 years because I was just staying at his place while I was back in town. I was going to camp outside. This is a climber, and we're used to sleeping in tents next to each other. Like that world, you are very intimate with your guy friends, and therefore you just assume that there is just an understanding. And then out of nowhere, he's massaging my feet, and I was like, oh, wait, am I attracted to him? What happened? What's happening? And then we hooked up, and that ended our friendship. He also had a girlfriend, and he didn't tell me that until after we hooked up. Anyway, God, I gotta tell that whole story because it still makes me so mad that I trusted this man so much. I was not expecting that. And now Margot, 20 years. 20 years. And she's your wife's friend too. We helped her get the courage to leave her emotionally abusive marriage and stood by her through a bit. The nerve. He's like, she owes me one. Who is the most vulnerable woman I can possibly think of? Who trusts me, who thinks of me as a hero, who, oh my God. Oh my God, I just did it. I catch myself roaring now. Is this perimenopause? I'm like growling and roaring regularly. This is who I become with perimenopause. But abused it and stood by her through a bitter divorce. What were you going to do? Were you going to stand by him? Wow. Look at you. What a great man you are. You must be a nice guy. You can't trust these nice guys. This man is more dangerous than like the frat guy, the big old Republican cowboy, whatever. This man, I mean, maybe he's all those things. This man, this is such a betrayal right here. He sees himself as such a good man, and this is what he does. And it's all because he knows she's vulnerable. He knows she has a hard time saying no to men because she's been so traumatized by them. He clearly has a lot of issues with boundaries and self-love and self-respect, because even if she didn't have that going into that relationship probably did that to her. So he knows she's vulnerable, and more than anything, men know that we feel like we owe them things, especially if they saved us from another man. Fork you, whoever man you are. This was about 10 years ago. Since then, Margot hasn't dated much. Shocker! She'll probably never date again. A lot of women are like, no thanks, I don't ever want to risk my life messing with a man again, and they have every right to do so. She kept saying she didn't think she'd ever want a full-blown relationship again. Yeah, most women are at this place now, bruh. Because of that, I thought she might be interested in friends with benefits with me. But she was really insulted. The nerve. Like, what's wrong with this crazy lady? When I brought it up, she said she thinks of me as a sibling. Et voila. And thought I felt the same way about her. Exactly. Y'all don't assume these men who you think of as a brother. What? Look at how you're laying. Look at that. Don't think that any of these men who you think of as a brother wouldn't be okay with okay? Just because you think of them a brother and they call you a sister or treat you like a sister, don't think they're also like wouldn't diddle you. Brothers are oftentimes the biggest threats and bullies to women who are related to them. But either way, oh God, she's been avoiding me lately. Yeah, I hope she never talks to you again. 2 questions. Was I out of line to make that suggestion? I can't even believe you're asking this. I mean, I can, but you wrote into a stranger on the internet. And how to fix it. I hope you never fix this. I hope this woman never talks to you again. Ever. I swear, like, do men not understand? Now, this is especially in the U.S. Especially in the U.S. I can make another video around why. But men don't understand how much women know they treat us different after they've forked us. You know, let's just see what Carolyn has to say, though. Because he signed his name Anonymous. Way to test my verbal constraint. I feel you, Carolyn. Me too. Okay. I can see how the offer made perfect sense to you, you dummy. But I hope that you can see that you didn't apparently give due thought to the possibility that she might see it differently. That the widower of her dear late old friend just hit her up for booty call. Yikes. Exactly. Oh, this makes me so mad, y'all. Do you understand when I say that the men in your life are the biggest threat to your health and to your safety ever? Your dads who are going to try to convince you, especially if you're an older daughter, to go and take care of them when they get sick, especially if they unalived your mom through, like this dude probably did, through sickness. If she does not have a woman in his life, you know, remarried or your mom or whatever, they're going to expect you to do this. So your dads are always going to be a threat unless they are, you know, actually really genuinely good fathers and human beings, which is very hard to find. But I know some. Your brothers, the men you date, your husbands, your little friends. Like even if you do not date men, if you're friends with them, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I read a story about men who are like, I think I can change her, like her sexual orientation. Same way they think that they can change child-free women into wanting to be moms. Same way that they just love to just clip the wings of every bird, cage every animal, or just straight up shoot it and stuff it like this taxidermy or whatever it's called. But even your friends, your best friend, one of your friends died and her husband is like, hey, you want to burn chicken burger? Instead, you stopped at the similarities because that served you, you selfish prick. Plus, you are grieving your wife intensely and maybe did not properly consider that her best friend would also be devastated by her own grief. Et voila. But honestly, I don't even think you're grieving her that much. I think you killed her. Clearly, either that or you're literally like so many of these men who do not have any, who escapism is their like key to everything. And rather than dealing with grief, which is a very hard thing to go through, involves all kinds of, you know, I'm just gonna start banging her friend. That'll make me feel good. So in these senses, yes, you were out of line for not giving full consideration to Margot's feelings before you propositioned her, or at least waiting for some sign that she'd be receptive. The way to fix it is to say this explicitly when you apologize, that you let your loneliness swamp your judgment and you failed to consider her feelings before you spoke up. She may not be able to unsee you this way. Exactly. Don't unsee this. Don't unsee this. Maybe, I mean, seriously, I don't even give these men a benefit of the doubt. I'm surprised. This man probably, seriously, at this point, I just assume he was probably cheating on his wife with other people. Like, or at very least, like, I mean, even when he's like, I'm devastated by her. Are you? Are you one of those dudes who's like, crap, all that free labor is gone. What do? I either find a new woman or I just give up and die. Because like I said, Grandpa didn't die right after Grandma because he died of a broken heart. I've talked about this so much. He died because he's too lazy and entitled to literally think that he should have to take care of himself and he doesn't want to. So he's like, whatever, I'm just, don't care. Right? Because men hate themselves. That's what patriarchy does to them. They hate themselves and tells them that they shouldn't have to do anything, so they just die. Or they literally start dating immediately, or they literally do a little song and dance at Grandma's funeral like my grandpa did. I'm king of the mountain now! Free at last, thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. Literally said that. A southern white man said that, by the way, to my dad at my grandma's wedding. I'm free. Like Anyway, I told y'all that story because I promise you he was definitely not a fan of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but quoted him to celebrate the wife he abused death. So a lot of these grandpas and a lot of these men are like, oh, well, got rid of that ball and chain. Let's get busy with another one, right? Let's take another one hostage. Hospice wife number 2, because I killed my first one. So I don't even believe this man's devastated, that he's even sad. He's probably like pissed that now he has to actually take care of himself. The only reason why he has this friend Margot is probably because of his wife. And he doesn't have any friends. Because like I said, men are terrible at friendship. Not only with other men, but with women or literally anything. They rely on their wives for everything. And now she's dead. What is he going to do? He's going to proposition her friend. God. So even a proper apology might not receive the friendship, but it's important to deliver it anyway. Last thing, for what it's worth, if Margaret were to ask me how to handle your apology, I'd advise her to accept it and forgive you. People racked with grief and loneliness and not being touched for months, sometimes years, are susceptible to yearnings that overwhelm their judgment. I do feel for you, and I'm very sorry for your loss. I had a similar situation occur, except that I was propositioned at the funeral by an older man who I had regarded as a mentor and father figure. I was able to be kind, calm, and understanding of the grief-fueled error and judgment, but I also ended any further contact. Knowing that he had assessed me in that way made it impossible to continue any relationship. Tell it, Caroline, you may not be able to fix anything in a way that makes your former close friend comfortable ever again. Another loss, and it's sad, but she doesn't have to fix this for you. I had a male friend ask me for that. I said no and chalked it up to grief and loneliness. I hope she comes to the realization as well. Okay, I actually don't think these are from Carolyn. I think she adds other people's in this. This does not sound like Carolyn right here. I know that, oh my God, look at you. Look at you. Look at it, he's like, fork you. I'm gonna turn my back. Good, I respect your boundaries, Mo. Either way, oh my God.